Welcome back, kiddies. Third video lesson here for chapter 4. Today we're going to focus on solving percent equations. Solving percents. Percents basically just a application of ratios and proportions. So it's going to kind of combine what we've learned about in sections 1 and 2, but just apply something a little bit new in percents. All right, so what is a percent? You guys have probably studied this before, have seen it before. A percent basically just means out of 100. All right, so a percent is really a ratio expressed out of a value of 100. So say, for example, you get an 80% on a test. 80% basically means that you got 80 out of 100. So think about if there's 100 points or 100 questions on a test, you got 80 of them correct. Okay, now applying this to proportions, let's say there was 5 questions on a test. You know, if you got an 80%, what would that be equivalent to? And that is exactly what we're going to be doing today. We're going to apply percents to ratios and proportions. All right, so the method there's many different ways in which I could teach you how to solve percents or how you could learn how to solve percents, but I'm going to show you a method. The setup is going to be the same for every problem. That's why hopefully you'll get the hang of it. It'll become easy, but this works for any sort of problem you see. You just have to be able to, especially when we get to some of the application problems, be able to decipher the information and put them in the correct spot, and then it's just going to apply things we talked about in the last section. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at is, again, when you express a percent, like 80%, it means out of 100. So you're going to look for really this. Here are the steps we're going to look for. You're going to find in a problem, you're going to find 3 things. The percent, and then you'll see 2 other words, is and of. So for example, you'll see 20% is 20 out of 100. So this would be an example of what you might see. 20 is the percent, so when we place this in our setup, it's going to go where the percent would be, so about right here. The is, it says is 20. The is 20, the 20 is going to go right there. And then the of portion, which is 100, is going to go in the denominator of this ratio. Okay, in some of these problems, obviously you're going to have to solve for an unknown value. So once you substitute these things in, you're going to solve for the unknown. Now, what is the unknown going to be? Well, the unknown could be the percent, it could be the is, it could be the of, and that's basically what you're going to have to try and figure out. And then how are you going to solve? You're going to solve using cross products that we learned last section. Now, the last step I want you to make sure here is that check to make sure you've written your answer correctly. So if I'm asking you for the is and the of, those are going to be just numbers. But if I ask you for percent, make sure your final answer is expressed as a percent. All right, so let's go through 3 quick examples. I'm going to use the method that I talked about in the last slide. So again, you're going to have, oopsies, I did that wrong. You're going to have percent over 100 equals the is and the of. Okay, so you're going to have to just place things in those certain spots and be able to figure out what we're doing. Now, as we go through these examples, you're going to need a calculator, especially when I go to the examples that you're going to have to try on your own. So make sure you have a calculator ready as you go through these examples. So the first one, what I have is, let me zoom in a little bit so we can see it. I have 92% of 42 is what? So I'm going to write this just once, but I'm going to just, again, write the setup. You have your percent over 100 equals the is and the of. So when I look at this sentence, this statement, you have 92%. So the 92% is going to go in the percent spot. So that's going to be 92 over 100 equals is and of. So I have of 42. So the 42 is going to go in the of spot. So that's the denominator. And it says is what. So is what? What am I solving for? I'm solving for the is. So what am I going to put there? No, I don't want you to write is. Let's just put something that if we don't know we're trying to solve for it, let's put an X there. Don't put an is there. Okay, now how do I solve this? Well, this is going back to last section. This is just solving by using a cross product. So I'm going to take and multiply my 100 times my x. That's going to give me 100x. And then 92 times 42. And that's going to give you 3,864. Big number. That's okay. Now solving this one-step equation, I'm going to divide by 100. Hopefully you guys are getting used to these things. And x is going to equal 38.64. Okay, and now I am looking for the is portion of this. This is not the percent, so that is my answer. So what this is saying is that 38.64 out of 42 would be equivalent to 92%. Again, it's looking then at a proportion. All right, next example. I have 145.8 is what percent of 150.1? Now, I'm not going to rewrite the thing, but notice this. 145 is, and percent, what percent of this? So if I think about what I have, the percent, it says what percent? So out of 100, I'm going to place an X there because I'm trying to find the percent. And it says 148.5 is, so 145.8 is going to go on top, and 150.1 is going to go on the bottom. All right, so again, setting it up is the hardest part. Once you have this, now it's the same. We're going to take and multiply across, doing my cross products. So you're going to need your calculator for this one because we got some big numbers, some strange numbers. So I'm going to take 100, multiply that by 145.8, and that's going to give me 14580, 14,580. And that's going to equal 150.1 times x, which is 151 or 150.1x. Don't get confused by the decimal. I'm multiplying these two, so to get rid of it, I'm going to divide by 150.1. And then that should give me my answer. You're going to have to punch it into a calculator. You're going to get x equals 97.1. Now, here's the last step. If we go back and look at your steps, notice I'm solving for a percent. So I don't want to leave this as 97.1, but I want to say x equals 97.1%, because I am solving for a percent. That means that 145.8 out of 150.1, that would be about 97% of the total. All right, last example here that I'm going to try, and then it's going to be on your own. So I have 19% of what is 20.9. So first of all, I'm given 19%. So that's going to be 19 over 100 is going to equal is 20.9, so 20.9 is going to go on top, and the of what is what I'm solving for, so the of is the denominator. I'm going to put an x there because I'm trying to solve for it. Then I'm going to do my cross products. That's going to give me 19x equals 2,090. Then last step would be to divide by 19 on both sides, ba-boom, ba-boom, and that's going to give me x equals 110. Okay, and again, notice, check your answers. This is the of portion, so we can just stick with 110. All right, so again, the setup is what you just got to figure out. Got to be able to decipher that information. Once you get the hang of that, the rest is pretty simple. All right, so I want you to pause the video right now, give her a good pause, and then I want you to try these three problems. Here we go. Pause the video, give these three a shot, go. A little Benny Hill there for you guys. All right, so looking at what we have, first one, you're solving for what percent. So notice how I put the x in the percent of 99 goes on the bottom, is 56 goes on top. Then I didn't show it here, but I did do the cross product, get 99x equals 100 times 56 is 5600. Divide by 99, you get 56.56. If you check this one out, you get 56.565656, repeating. What I'd like you to do is just round to one decimal spot. So notice here I rounded that to 55.6. Again, just quick review on rounding if you don't know. Think about this. I'm going to cut it off at that 10th spot. So I'm going to round the 0.5 up 1 to 6 because the number after it is greater than 5. So remember, greater than 5 or 5 or greater, so I should say greater than or equal to. You're going to round up and round down less than or equal to 4. So 0 to 4, you're going to go there. So just remember that as you round, 1 decimal spot's perfectly fine. Next one, it says 141 is 75% of what? So 75 is the percent. 141 is the is, goes on top. The of is what we're solving for, so I labeled it X. Same process here. You get 188. So 141 of 188 would be 75%. Last one, what is? So what is, I put the X there because that's the is. 7% of 93, so 7 out of 100. X over 93, cross product again, division, I get 65.1. So 65.1 of 93 is equivalent to 7%. Hopefully you got these right. If you didn't, just give them maybe a check over what you did wrong. Hopefully you found your mistake. All right, last thing I want for this chapter, percents are a big thing that you see a lot every day. I always think of Kohl's, one of my favorite places to shop, and I love me them 30% off. Why? Because he saves me some money, and a good Southsider loves to save himself some money. So let's go through some application type problems, things that you need to know. All right, so one thing where you see percents used is by tipping. Tipping when you go to a restaurant, you order a meal, you don't want to be that rude person that leaves no tip, but you want to leave a tip behind. So let's say you're taking a taxi. Now this is European stuff, just kind of changed it up a little bit. So it says a €3 tip is what percent of an 18.7 euro taxi fare? Euro is just a currency used in Europe. Okay? So just application problem, but think about the setup is the same way. You want percent out of 100 equals the is and the of. So look at the percent. I want to know what percent. So the percent is actually what I'm solving for. So it's going to be X out of 100 equals a €3 tip is. So there's the is. So that means €3 is going to be on top. So this is going to be the number 3. And then of 18.70 is going to be on bottom. So 18.70 there. Solving is the same. Boom, time, boom. And you get 18.70x equals 300. Divide by 18.70. And this is going to tell you the percent. Okay, so divide by 18.70. And that's going to tell you that X is going to equal 16.0. Okay, now lastly, remember that this is a percent, so that's a 16.0%. So that means you left about a 16% tip. That ain't too bad. Usually I like to be a little nicer because I know people that work off of tips, that's how they make extra money. So usually I like to leave at least a 20% tip, but that's Big Dog. He's a little generous, just like I'm providing you with a lovely education because I'm just so generous that way. I'm just kidding. All right, next one. What percent of Cudahy High School population, which is 730 total students, are freshmen? Okay, so I again want to know what percent of the Cudahy High School population, so that's which is 730 students, are freshmen, which is 197 students. You know, you look at this. Where the heck is the is? I ain't no math teacher. I am a math teacher. I'm sorry. I ain't no English teacher, but I'm pretty sure that are and is kind of mean the same thing, right? So technically, my are is my is. So if you want to jot that in your notes, that's fine. But hopefully, you kind of understand that. But again, I want to solve for what percent. So I'm going to go X out of 100, which is percent. Percent is what I'm solving for. The is and the are, we have 197 out of the total, the of, which is 730 total students. So this one I'm solving the same way. I'm going to get 730x by doing my cross product equals 19700, so 19,700. Divide by 730 on each side. And that's going to give me x equals 26.986. Well, I'm just going to whoopsie daisy for my pen tool. 26.986. While I'm writing all those decimals, let's talk about this again. I want you to round to this spot here. Okay, well, wait a second. The 8, this 8 is going to make this 9 round up, but what does 9 round up to? It rounds up to a 0. But then that's going to round 29.9 up to a 0, which is not going to be 29.0, but it's going to be 30.0. So that means x equals 30.0, so that's about, remember we're solving for a percent, about 30%. So about 30% of the school population are freshmen. All right, I got one more application type problem that I want to work with you, and I want you guys to try this on your own. Let me just explain what's going on here. So I have a table that shows the distribution of my dreams that I have each night. So it shows that 17% of the time I'm dreaming about algebra. You know, I kind of think about what's going on in class. I wake up every morning and do at least 3 or 4 problems with a side of skim milk, of course. 34% I'm dreaming about football. That's G-dang true. 18% of the time I'm dreaming about Star Wars, because who doesn't love Star Wars? 24% I'm dreaming about Pokemon, because I want to be the very best. The best that ever was. To train them is my real test. Wait, no, I think I screwed that up. Anyways, and then last one, I have the scary dreams. Oh my God, 7% of the time I'm dreaming about monsters. Oh. So the first problem, if I dreamt 380 minutes last night, so 380 minutes is the total number of minutes I slept. How many minutes were spent dreaming about monsters? Now, how you're going to need to set these problems up, and the order it gets difficult, is you have to think about what we're doing here. All the problems I've given you before would say blank percent is blank of blank. Okay? So remember, percent out of 100 is the same ratio as a number out of a total. So when you look at this sentence, you got to think about percent is blank of blank. All right? So when I look at this, let me just help you set it up here. I know that monsters, I am dreaming 7% of the time I'm dreaming about monsters. And I want to know how many minutes were spent dreaming about that. So I want to know 7% is what number out of a total of 380 minutes. Okay? So when you look at this, the is what I'm solving for, and I'm giving you the of and the percent. So setting this up, I'm going to have 7 out of 100 equals x out of 380. Now that I have the setup, the rest is easy. I'm going to cross multiply and get 100x equals 7 times 380 would be 2,660. Then I'm going to last divide by 100 again, bada bing, bada boom, and I'm going to get x equals 26.6. And what does that represent? That represents minutes. So that means about 27 minutes of that night. Last night I dreamt about monsters. Gee dang it, it was scary. All right, now I want you to try the next one on your own. So it says, if Mr. Wazakowski spent 45 minutes dreaming about Pokemon, how long did he sleep? Okay. So I'm not talking about last night where I said I dreamt 380 minutes. This is a completely new problem. I spent 45 minutes dreaming about Pokemon. So this was my dream. Does not mean I slept for 45 minutes. Percent-wise, use the table. Pokemon's up here. I want to know how long did I sleep? So what was the total amount of sleep I have? So think about the percent, the is, and the of. Okay, so give this a quick pause. See if you can write it down, figure it out, go. All right, take a look at what you got. 24% is 45 minutes out of how many minutes? The total number, what I'm looking for is what I'm going to solve for. So I want to know the actual of. So once you get this, the percent equation is kind of easy to set up. 24 out of 100, 45x. Find the cross product, then divide, and you get 187.5 minutes. Now, I am tired because that's kind of a little over 3 hours. So, oof, I need to catch some sleep, guys. All right, hopefully the percent equations and these things made sense. If you have any questions, make sure you write them down, bring them to class. Otherwise, good luck on your practice problems, and we'll see you next class period. Peace out, my friends.